Good day, Merry Meet. My name is Glennis and I am the Witch of Whitetail Hollow. I want to warmly welcome you to my channel. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. If you guys know anything about me and anything about my channel, you know I have spoken about the hollow ad nauseum, and I want to thank you guys so much for indulging me in that. But I think even if you don't have your hollow, you can still have your safe space, and you can prep for a worst case scenario. And what I'm trying to do, and what I've been trying to do over the last, gosh, what, 6 months, a year, something like that, is for you to consider, and I'm certainly not going to put my beliefs on anyone else. What works for me is what works for me, but to consider taking care of yourself and your body in a more natural and healthy way. I've shared several recipes with you, and I believe I have a playlist, and I hope that you check that out. But I have like flea and ticks for dogs, not cats, flea and tick spray for dogs. I have shared with you my pain tincture. It's for pain and inflammation, and if you have maybe trouble sleeping, this will help you sleep a little bit. And today I want to share something with you that is not only beautiful, edible, but will also make an incredible, valuable addition to your medicine cabinet. But first, I feel I should preface this by saying I'm not a doctor. I am not a nurse, although I did volunteer in hospital and then subsequently went on to work in hospital, and I do have a medical administration degree. I am in no way, shape, or form a doctor. So let's just be very clear about that. I'm just someone who loves to garden, who loves fresh vegetables, fresh flowers, herbs, and of course to make my own essential oils. And if I can share that with you guys, then I certainly will. Now, many years ago, I worked, and I had the pleasure of working for a landscaping company in Dawson City, Yukon. Yes, they landscape and grow vegetables, or I did, vegetables and flowers in the Yukon. Now bear in mind, you could have snow and cold all through the summer, but it did get warm in the summer. But one of my favorite things, and of course my job with the landscaping company was all of the contracts the company had with the post office, the museum, private businesses, private individuals, was the design and installation and maintenance of flowers, of annuals, perennials, whatever it is that they wanted, hanging baskets, window boxes, containers, you name it. And that was my job, was the color coordination, bearing in mind the zone or the lack thereof of the Yukon. And so one of my there was quite a few, but one of my die-hard plants that I worked with was Nasturtium, and you can see a little bit of Nasturtium here. I've got a lot of Nasturtium happening outside. I did so last year, and I wanted to get to the point where I was ready to share this with you guys, because I didn't want to say, oh, well, here's my Nasturtium and this is what I'm going to do, and not bring you through the whole process. But I overwintered several Nasturtium plants, and this is the dried, I think you guys can see, this is the dried leaves of the Nasturtium. There are probably a few stems in here as well. Nasturtium, of course, the flower and the leaves are edible. Of course, you know that. I believe I shared a photo on my community page of a salad I made with some nasturtium flowers in a salad, and it was delicious. The leaves are marvelous to go in a stir fry. I have had one person suggest using the leaves in sort of like a pesto. I have never done that myself, so I can't advise you on that. But one of the reasons why I was so successful growing nasturtium in the Yukon is because you can almost neglect nasturtium and it will still thrive. But if now the reason now some of these leaves, for the purposes that I'm going to discuss here today, these leaves, I could still use them for my medicine. And when I refer to my medicine, is I'm talking about making my own antibiotic. Okay? These leaves, once your plant flowers, your leaves kind of, not that they die back, but a lot of the plant's energy is going towards blooming. So the more you neglect and ignore your plant, to get a plant like this to harvest leaves, to dry for your antibiotic, when you water it, when you do water it, now it will take terrible sandy soil. It will take a lot of sunshine because, as some of you may know, in the Yukon in the summer, it is 24/7 sunshine. It was, that in and of itself was kind of stressful, but you wanted to put out flowers, things like that, especially if you know they're outside, it's 24/7 sun. So, but when you do water it, you want to increase the nitrogen that is in your water. This will reduce your blooms. You won't have blooms like you might think you want, but you will have glorious, beautiful leaves like this to harvest, to dry. Now, I have used nasturtiums in a garden as a trap crop. So, in other words, aphids and squash bugs, this will deter aphids and squash bugs. They will go for this plant before they will go for your tomatoes, or, like you guys know, I already have yellow squash, green zucchini, and butternut squash, and I have many things planted over there. So for me to plant this out in a garden, this is a trap plant. So I'm trying very hard to not use any chemicals at all. And I also have marigolds out there as well. So wonderful trap plant in your vegetable garden. But I want to tell you guys, this, even though these are edible, you know, you could just pick it and put it right in a salad. It's very high in vitamin C. It increases, and this is where the antibiotic effect comes in, it increases your red blood cell counts. So it's antimicrobial, it's an antibiotic, and it promotes the formation of red blood cells. But I would not feel comfortable giving this tincture to young children. I would not feel comfortable feeding any of these leaves to dogs because it may upset tummies. So all you have to do, I have a very small jar here. It's gone through the dishwasher as hot as possible. And really all you do, and I hope that you guys by now have a handy funnel, and all you do is, I don't measure, I probably should, but this is for just simply for me. And so I'm going to put a goodly amount in there because why not? So this is about, you know what? I'm just doing it. Now, when you dry it properly, so this is about 2/3. When dried properly, it does not have like a bad aroma like some herbs do that are really great for you, but it smells as very slight aroma. It smells very, very slightly like maple syrup. And that's what it is. Now, you can tincture this with vinegar if you have an aversion to alcohol. But I want to tell you, when you tincture anything with vinegar, or, you know, if you're just cutting alcohol out totally, it's going to take twice as long for this to tincture out. You will have to, instead of a teaspoon, you will have to do like a shot glass, which is 2 ounces. I personally, I don't have any issues with taking alcohol at the moment. Now, in 5 years, 10 years time, that might be a different story, but right now I do the highest proof of alcohol that I can. Typically, when I'm tincturing like this, or my sweet gum balls, or like my muscle pain reliever, and to help me relax and to help me sleep, and an anti-inflammatory, I go and I buy Everclear. And I mean, it is the strongest alcohol produced that you can buy legally. Now, it is not sold in every state, so I can't advise you there, but I have 100, I guess it's 100 proof. Yeah. And that's what I use, and that's what I'm going to recommend. The least expensive alcohol that you can find. And basically, it's just a good pour. And the herbs are absolutely, or the dried leaves, I should say, are absolutely going to soak this in. Take your handy skewer and give it a little bit of a stir, a little bit of poke around. By all means, please do label and date your tincture. Put it in a cool, dry place. I mean, it's not going to hurt if you want to leave it on the kitchen counter, as long as it's cool. And I don't know how cool you keep your home in the summer, but just keep it in a cool, dry place out of sunlight. And I can actually put a little bit more in here. And there you go. It is just that easy. And tighten it right up. And there you go. And I'm going to label it on the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my closet with my vanilla and a bunch of other bottles. So I have to tell you, I feel almost awful for some of the people that come and visit me. If they go in my closet, they're going to look and go, oh my goodness, what has happened to her? But because I've got all kind of concoctions and things like that going. And, you know, just, you know, every day or two, check on it, give it a shake, and probably in a week or two, check on it, and it's going to look and sound something like this. I'll get a little bit closer. It sounds like it's completely dry, and you can see where the herbs have just absolutely taken over and soaked everything in. And if I can get this open, and you can see, I think you guys can see, where it is, you know, soaking it all in. And what I'm going to do, and what you need to do with this, is top it up and let it carry on. Now, I probably could, in another week or two, go ahead and strain this, add this to my existing batch of, you know, muscle pain, But I'm going to allow this to go as long as I can. I don't take this very often, and I believe I've shared with some of you guys, I help my elderly neighbor as often as I can, and they called and they said, well, I really need for you to do this. And I told the lady, I said, you know, I said, I tried doing it last year. I said, I physically couldn't do it. And so while I was out, you know, roaming about and doing stuff, I said, well, I'm outside, I may as well go try, right? It took every pulling and grunting and groaning that I could, but I succeeded in what she wanted or needed for me to do, but I pulled my shoulder out. I mean, I pulled my shoulder out to the point where after I had a shower and got dressed and everything, I was like, gosh, I wish I had a sling so I could keep my arm up, because I was really hurting big time. So I took a teaspoon of this, just a teaspoon, and sat, chilled out, didn't do anything physically for the rest of the day. And bedtime I felt some better, but not 100% for sure. So I took another teaspoon at bedtime. The next morning I felt great. I mean, I still didn't push my body too much, but I didn't have any more pain. So the anti-inflammatory, the pain relief, the sleep, it worked great. And it probably would work really, really good for headaches as well. But now for the tincture here, for the antibiotic tincture here, the Nasturtium tincture, I'm not telling you every time you have a sniffle to take some antibiotic. I take any of these tinctures that I have made myself. I'm very, very frugal taking them. I don't want my body to become accustomed to it to where I have to do more and more and more. It is just when I think this antibiotic would be great for like an urinary tract infection, or if you have a little bit of an earache and you feel like, you know, you might have a little bit of an ear infection for adults, then I think this would be really, really good. Or if you have maybe, like I'm going to be up at the Hollow soon, I get nicked and cut more times than you would ever know. And yes, I'm up to date on my shots. With the last grandchild, I got up to date on my shots. But if you find you maybe have a little bit of an infection happening, then by all means, a teaspoon, just a teaspoon, it doesn't really take a lot. But check on it in a week or two, you know, give it a poke, stir it around, add a little bit more, and let it go. At least a minimum of 6 weeks. I probably will let this go until I actually probably need it. But that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you want to do nasturtium, increase the nitrogen. That'll decrease your blooms, but you sure are going to have some lovely, lovely leaves. And dry them properly. Just make sure they're dried properly. And there you go. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I want you to take control of your health, your body, and certainly if you have pain that a pain tincture is not going to take care of, or if you have an antibiotic that you're taking after 2 or 3 days, if you don't see an improvement, get yourself to an urgent care, an emergency room, your doctor, something like this. This is not meant to kind of cut medical professionals out of your life. I would never ever suggest that. But I'm going to try and live a more natural, healthy, prescription-free way to go. And again, if you guys are on prescription medications now, do your due diligence and see if any of the herbs that or leaves that we're using here is going to interact with what you're taking. And I mean, there's so many drugs and interactions that I couldn't possibly advise you on that. Okay? I hope that you guys have a wonderful, happy, and healthy rest of the day and rest of the week. I hope you join me again, Mary Part, and I absolutely so hope to merry meet again. Goodbye, guys.